Hey, data designer. One of the big challenges that we face in data communications is that there are a lot of people who are not fans of looking at numbers, even if you share them in chart form. I had a boss once who would literally fall asleep at the mere mention of descriptive statistics. So there are times we have to figure out ways to sneak in little bits of data. Metaphors are one of the sneaky tactics that I like to use from time to time. Even a cliche metaphor like the tip of the iceberg metaphor I'm using here can really help to speed up comprehension. Today, I'm going to walk through the steps of creating a tip of the iceberg metaphor chart. Not only will I show you how to create the overlay effect, I'll also show you how to easily design the graph to scale. To start, we'll open up Canva and click on the social media design category. I'm going to click on the Instagram post design, even though I have no intention of sharing this graphic on Instagram. It's just going to give us a nice 1080 by 1080 square canvas. Once we have our canvas, it's time to find a nice little iceberg photo to use as our backdrop. There are a bunch inside Canva, from real life icebergs to computer generated illustrations. Keep in mind that even though you are designing for a square, you can still use a rectangular photo. You just need to crop it a bit. Once we have the background graphic, let's create the chart. In Canva, search for charts inside the Elements tab, then scroll down to the hierarchy charts. We'll be able to use a simple tree map here. If you've never created a tree map, it works pretty much the same way as a pie chart, except you end up with proportionally sized rectangles instead of pie slices. Just like a pie chart, you can use percentages that add up to 100, or you can just put in all your frequencies and the chart will do the math for you. Now, in order to make my tip of the iceberg chart work, I need to be able to pull apart the tree map. I could create a second tree map, but that would require doing additional math, and I'm feeling a bit lazy today. Instead, I'm going to add some squares on top and make them the same size as the different categories. There we go. Now that I have all my rectangles measured, I can get rid of the base tree map. Just a note, you want your data to be finalized before you get to this step. Also, keep in mind that you can make the rectangles larger or smaller, but the important thing for this infographic especially is to keep them proportionately sized. That means selecting all the rectangles before scaling the size up or down. Once you have the rectangles the size you want, you can play with the colors. The colors you choose are going to depend on your background image and your general data design color palette. I kept most of my pieces on a blue scale, with the brightest section being the one I want to stand out. Next, I shift all the shapes around so they match up fairly well with the background visual. Keep in mind that you can spin the shape in any direction. The area of the shape is the most important thing here. After I created it, I decided to change the color of the highlighted block to a reddish orange to let it stand out a little bit more against the blue-gray background. Right, so to make it so the chart isn't completely covering up the background image, we can just turn down the transparency on all the chart rectangles. This lets the background image come through. After doing that, the background was a little too dark for me, so I also turned down the transparency a bit on the background image. Next, I just used text boxes to add labels to all of my blocks. Then I add some annotations and shift the text sizes a bit so it's easier to read and understand. And then when I'm done, I just export the image as a PNG. And that's it. Here's our final visual. The metaphor itself conveys the final message, but the graph is also accurate and provides space for you to give detailed numbers. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It means a lot, and I will always read every single comment. And if you're interested in free resources like ebooks and courses, visit my resource library at freshspectrum.com/library. Now, get out of your head and go create some stuff.